Welcome to the Cynical Marketers Podcast, where the greatest minds in marketing, we think, discuss marketing for an audience of several. And now, your hosts, Mike and Nada. Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of the Cynical Marketers. Welcome to episode 11. The march continues on.
More than halfway to the 20. I know we keep talking about the 20, but yeah.
I know, we're still at it. So
yep.
It's an awesome thing. This is something I talk about with businesses all the time when everyone says, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, are you sure? It's a lot of work.
Will you do it?
It's way more work than you're thinking.
It is.
So that's why people quit by that 20. So we're continuing on, though. We are not going to quit until episode 21, maybe.
But Mike, that took me a second. So, all right. Well, on that snarky comment.
What are we talking about today?
Today, we are going to talk about how everybody can do everybody can do marketing, Mike. Everybody's a marketer, right?
Everybody's a marketer.
Everybody. You don't really need any special skills for this job, do you?
Oh, man. So I always joke about this, like, especially back when everyone worked in the offices, right? Like, marketing is the only office that everyone will come stick their head in and say, you know what you should do? You know what you should do? I'm like, you never see anyone going by accounting and sticking their head and saying, hey, you know what? I was looking at our statements and I got some tips on how we're depreciating our capital assets, But everybody talks to marketing. Everybody has an idea.
Well,
right?
Everybody has an idea and everybody thinks they can do it. And everybody thinks that what we do is easy. And it's, that it's not a skill, that it's not a knowledge, that it's not an experience type job. Everybody thinks like, oh, I'm creative enough. I'm interesting enough. I'm clever enough. I have 500,000 followers on my TikTok. I must know what I'm doing. I can do this marketing, this marketing thing, right? And
those are great attributes to have. You're clever, you're creative, right? Those are great attributes, but yeah. And let's be clear at the start. We're snarky about it, of course. Anyone can do marketing. Right. It's not rocket science.
We're not gatekeeping you guys. We actually love what we do and we genuinely love what we do. So we've just been through it a little bit.
Years of experience and there are things to learn, just like in any job. Most jobs out there, folks could do them, but there's a learning process, and that's the same thing in marketing. But everyone is exposed to marketing all the time. So then they have their own social media accounts, right? So then they think like, well, that's all you guys are doing, right? You just post a couple of TikToks. That's a joke from everybody. The marketing Girly. Right. She's running around with her cell phone.
She's running around and doing TikToks. Yeah.
That's all she does is TikTok dances.
Right.
Yeah. And for some brands, maybe that might be the case, but I know that's one of the big things is because everyone has their own social media and they are on social media all the time. So they think that. And again, not gatekeeping or saying it's rocket science by any means. No, absolutely not.
You guys, like I said,
trial and error and things that we've learned over time, and it's about messaging and
it does take
there's
experience.
Thought that goes into it.
Yeah, sure. It does take experience. It is a skill set. Let's be clear. It is a skill set. It's not an unlearnable skill set. Like Mike said, everybody can learn it. But where we get cynical and we get jaded is when people who have no marketing background, who have no interest in actually learning marketing, when they think that they can do our jobs just simply because, they have social media. Oh, it's just posting on social media. What else do you do?
When you're working in a business or you work for a client that has some sort of approval process for things that is a committee.
Right.
It's the worst.
I wish you guys on Spotify could see Mike's face right now.
Oh my God. Helen from HR is one of my characters that I do on social media. Because Helen from HR always has feedback on the fonts. Whatever you've just made. They're like, this is pretty good, but can you change the font? That's the thing. That's That's what's
That's
going to
going to
make it
make the
go.
difference, right?
I know.
I mean, it's interesting because I think this is one where we've seen and we've experienced this, right? Like we've both worked in corporate environments. We've both also been entrepreneurs. We've both worked with small size businesses. And we have seen this where our value is constantly questioned. And even somebody on LinkedIn said, you know, marketing is the only department in any company that has to continue to prove their worth. So if, like you said, if accounting team is hired and they have their CPAs and whatnot, you know, they have their certifications, nobody questions their ability to do their jobs. But when it comes to us, you know, it doesn't matter what degree you have, how many years of experience, what certifications and what platforms you have, what your track record is even, people will question you every step of the way and believe that they can do your job.
Mm-hmm. We are one of those. And again, because everyone feels it and because it's the most visible thing. You know, when we're doing things, we make the things that everybody sees.
Right.
You know, so the folks in accounting, nobody's looking at the financial statements, you know, except for CFOs.
Yeah. And some people who need to, right?
Right.
Correct.
And even if they did, it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with how they booked some of these expenses, you know. That doesn't happen,
Yeah.
you know.
But I think
But we're the most visible. Even
Yeah.
on the sales team, like the sales team's out there and they're out in front and they're right, you know, where the rubber meets the road, right? They're talking to customers a lot. If you're in an org that has a sales team.
Right.
So they are visible in that way, but not the mass level of visibility that the marketing team has. Because like you put stuff out on social media, on your website, out on the internet, that scales and can be seen by millions of people sometimes, you know? So we're the most visible ones and it's the easiest thing to criticize because everyone can criticize things that you make. They may not be able to make it, but they know they didn't like what you did.
Well, it's that, you know, I love when I see this. And we see it a lot on LinkedIn, I think. It's like, oh, but that video I made went viral, right? And then let's not even get into what constitutes a viral video, but hey, like that one TikTok you made that on accident went, you know, what that blew up doesn't really mean that you can repeat that, right? And we've seen that across the board and we've seen that with our videos too. You know, when people come to me, and this is something I've experienced on the retention side, because I've specifically been in email marketing since 2001, right? So I've seen every reiteration of this. It's like, oh, well, all you do is just send an email. It's like, okay. Exactly. Because they don't understand.
I send emails
how
all day.
hard is that? Like, I can send an email, you know, I can put that together. Sure, of course you can. Who are you sending it to? When is the optimized time to send it? You know, what are you going to do with the results when you get them? It's a constant, like, you know, we can do that. Anyone can write an email. You know, I can write my one video went viral. That means I know exactly what I'm doing on social media. I now can sell a course.
Right. You went viral on social media with your funny cat video.
Yeah.
Right. Now, okay, great. Now go help Al's accounting in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
Do social media for Al.
Accounting in Savannah, Georgia.
Right. Do that. Now help him grow his business. And he's paying you, so he's expecting results.
He's expecting those results,
so
right?
Go make that happen now with your funny cat video skills.
And
I don't know how many funny cats are running around Al's accounting.
Of course, I think like one of my, I wonder, like now I'm going to Google if there is in fact Al's accounting in Savannah, Georgia. But, you know, I think like recently too, one of the things that we've heard is, you know, AI will do it for me. How do you feel about that one, Mike?
You know, AI is a great tool, but the thing about these large language models, all of them, even as they continue to improve, it's knowing what to ask. Because they're not so artificially intelligent that they will do things for you. You know, it's knowing what to ask and then actually knowing if those results are right. Because I have had results come back from ChatGPT specifically that were wrong, that I was asking it about. On another thing, I have a social media account for pop culture and history. So I was working on something for that. And it gave me a result that I'm like, that's wrong.
Right.
You know, like, because I just know. So
yeah.
You know, AI can do things for you. It will not do everything for you. And then what AI does is just goes out there and scrapes the internet for things and then regurgitates it for you. So if you're going to use AI for your business, great, it can be helpful, but you are going to start sounding like everybody else. Because if everyone starts using this thing, It's not going to differentiate you. You'll sound like everybody else.
And that's the thing I think that's interesting with, this is a big play on like copywriters too, right? Which is usually a part of the marketing team, a function within a marketing team, right? Or a creative team. We'll just have AI write copy. Then, okay, that's great. If you think that somebody's 20 years of experience in copywriting is the same as what ChatGPT will put out there for me, for you, for 13 other businesses trying to write copy for the same thing, right? Then all of a sudden, all your email subject lines sound the same. All of your blog copy sounds the same. You lose that authenticity, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not the voice, And again, a lot of businesses out there are thinking, fine, whatever, I don't care. It's good enough.
It's good enough. Yeah.
And that's probably what most businesses are thinking and why they don't want to pay marketing people and why I'll just do it myself and this is okay, which is fine too.
Which is fine.
But then you're probably looking at this other business in your market who's way bigger than you.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is so unfair. So unfair. And like, well, yeah, they're running ads everywhere because they have so much more money. Like, well, how'd they get more money? Do you think? Did it just happen? They just got lucky? Wow.
But Mike, like good products sell themselves. I know that's one of your favorites, right? We hear that all the time. Well, why do we need to spend money on that? Why do we need to spend money on that campaign? We've got good products.
Every IT guy I've ever talked to in my life has said that one about marketing. To me, that's like an IT. When I hear someone say it, I'm like, what's your job in IT?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. What do you do?
It's a good product. You shouldn't even have to market it. Like, yeah, okay, great. Tell me about what cell phone you're using right now.
Right. Do you think Apple doesn't
I'm not an Apple fanboy. Like, you just, why are you wearing an Apple? You tell me they all should sell themselves while they're, texting on an iPhone, wearing their Nike shoes, in their Under Armour, sweatshirts, wearing Lululemon joggers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and listen, my favorite part about that is like when people are like, oh, this amazing marketing campaign. And then it's like a Nike campaign. Like, sure, they have millions of dollars, but that's like I know that's a whole different topic, but it's like, of course, that's an amazing marketing campaign. They can afford it.
They spent $4 billion last year on marketing.
And they can afford to fail once in a while on a marketing campaign too. But that's the thing though, too. I think it's really interesting that people they don't understand what's happening behind the scenes for all of us in marketing, right? That we have KPIs that we have to look at, that we have goals to hit. Like you've mentioned a number of times in your videos, Mike, there are goals to hit. And marketing is definitely a skill set you have to learn and you have to continue learning. Because I've been doing this and specifically been in retention marketing for over 20 years, a little bit of a break, because I was teaching for a few years. But my job, nothing that I've learned in college or in the first 5 years of my career is the same as now, right? Some just fundamental like marketing 101 basics. Yes. But technology is so wildly different. I don't think people give marketers enough credit on how frequently we have to upgrade our skill set and how frequently we have to. It's forever changing.
Everything is changing. Consumer tastes change so quickly. All of the
consumer behavior changes. How consumers
legal changes, algorithm changes,
privacy changes, everything.
Constant.
Everything affects.
And I know I was an HR person before and laws change and that kind of stuff too, but it's not like going to directly now impact the revenue of the company. Because what we're doing in marketing, and especially we come a lot from e-commerce, marketing is the thing that sells everything. Right. So we are, the most visible. So if you had a bad day today on sales, nobody's going to ops and asking them, why were sales down today, guys?
Yeah.
They're coming to you.
Yeah.
Hey, where you at? Sales suck today,
Yeah.
They're coming to marketing. What are you going to do about it? You got to bounce back tomorrow because your trend isn't looking good this quarter, this period, right? You better fix it.
Yeah.
And I think too, for us, I've always said this about marketing. We are one of the only groups too, who our results, everyone gets to see them and they come from systems. We cannot manipulate our results in any way.
No, absolutely. We cannot.
Sales, they enter their own stuff in the CRM, and it can always be twisted to I work with businesses who it's B2B and you have a sales team, so you're marketing. Like anyone who's out there having to do that, if you're working B2B with a sales team, my hat's off to you. It's a tough job. But they can enter whatever they want, and it's always marketing's fault. Leads suck. And then it's always going to come back to no matter what sales does, if they misplan, it's because the leads were terrible.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you're an e-com and you are specific, like, hey, your stuff is not performing.
Right.
And again, no one goes to the accountant and says,
well,
like,
that's, that is one
down,
of the,
man.
that is one of the
about
challenges with, specifically, and I know, so, folks, if we haven't said this before, like my stronger side is retention. Mike is obviously more strategy and acquisition, right? As far as our skill sets and our really like where we excel. And it's interesting. We have seen this over the course of our careers where we are constantly questioned, right? And it is one of those things where, hey, Nada, like this email didn't perform. Why? I don't know. We don't have enough inventory for something, or I am having to fake new arrivals or bestsellers because we don't have inventory. We don't have whatever operational like difficulties and challenges a company has. And it happens with e-commerce all the time. Shipments are late. Production gets backed up, operations, shipping, whatever the thing, but it always comes down to marketing. Right. Hey, this thing didn't perform well. Well, yeah, we are now behind sending, mailing things out by a month because, maybe we had a huge Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and we're spending December catching up of things that we didn't expect. And now somehow it is marketing's fault.
Anytime we post about a product, pops
in 3 weeks,
50 comments on where's my last order.
Right.
What do you want me to do?
Right. Yep.
Anytime we put anything out, everyone's asking where their orders are.
Because look at what's happening on Target right now. And I hate to I'm not trying to be political. We're not, again, I feel like I say this disclaimer every single time, but we're watching businesses and look at what is happening with Target social media right now. They've turned comments off everywhere besides TikTok because they're not able to turn them off there, but they've turned them off everywhere else because of that exact thing. Their marketing team, their poor social marketing media team right now is getting hammered over things that they have no control over. And I think we've been through that, right? Like, in our previous work experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
We've dealt with all of that. Most recently I worked with a client, who there was just no newness on the website. There was nothing new. The, company was changing hands and all right, find stuff to email about. And then people come to you that are like in different parts of operations of the company. And they're like, well, I don't understand why the email is not performing as well as it did a year ago. Because they're seeing the same product on the website
that we had last year. And everyone who was going to buy it, we haven't acquired any new customers. Our email list hasn't really grown. We're not doing things to grow the email list. So it's the same people. That we're marketing to. You won't let us do the things to grow the list. Yeah. There's no attention to that. Yeah.
But having to explain that, I think we are arguably the only, if not one of the only teams in any company that is constantly having to defend our jobs. It's really interesting to me.
And I know if you're a non-marketer, if you've made it to this point, like, maybe so sad for you.
No,
I get
listen.
It.
But I think marketing folks agree with us here, right?
Marketing folks certainly will.
Marketing folks agree.
I built a company, an e-commerce company, to $80 million, selling $20 t-shirts. Do you know how many customers that is to get to $80 million selling $20 t-shirts, right? Ever since then, I'm still an idiot. Everywhere you go. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Mike, I can do your job. I don't understand. The product sells itself.
Constantly. And I don't know, this might be me. I am a moron. I get that, But then, I get one of two things like that, or like, we want you to do here what you did there. Great. Here's the strategy. Ooh.
Yeah. Here's the money that we spend. Here is what we did. Here is how we did it.
Here's how we built a team. These are what we did that made this happen.
Yeah.
What can you do with one?
Yeah.
With one person? What about you? How about you do all of it?
You do all the things. Yeah.
Okay. I don't, like.
I think that's another. Another
That thing that
thing,
we grew to $80 million is because there were talented people in each one of these positions who did these things. It wasn't me doing them. I was strategy and that too,
right.
right? But
But
yeah,
it's
like
interesting. So this
nobody
also
wants to
brings
invest.
me, this also brings us to a point of people not quite understanding marketing. So not only does everybody think that they can do what we do, right, or some variation of what we do, or question whether or not we should be better at our jobs, but another thing is you're in marketing. That must mean you know how to do all the things in
Yeah.
marketing,
Oh, okay.
right?
You're in charge of
All the things,
website design now.
right? All the
I'm not a
things.
website designer.
I have had so many people be like, so what about Facebook ads? Okay, well, I don't do Facebook ads. That is not where my
That's
skill
a
set
skill.
is, And props to folks who do, paid media and do it well. That is a skill set on its own that again is ever changing, right? Because the algorithms change and, Meta just loves their paid ads. But,
I run
no,
Meta
we don't
ads.
all
I
know
don't
how to
run
do
Google,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
I know and then they'll hire. This is a lot of things. This is one of the things like we tell small businesses when they're expanding now and they want to grow. Should you hire in-house or you hire an agency?
Right.
And they're like, well, I'll just hire this marketing kid and they can do all of this stuff. And they're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And most folks in marketing have a skill. T-shaped marketing, if anyone's ever heard of that. Most of us are that. In the T, if you think about a T, we know a lot of things in marketing, and then there's one thing typically that we can
That
go
we're
deep on, that we're really good at, that is our main skill. We may be able to do everything.
We may be able to do some parts of everything, but not everything really well. And I
Not
think
well. Yeah.
a lot of us, especially, if you've been in marketing over the last 5 to 10 years and you know how the landscape is changing and all the different tactics that are coming up in marketing and different channels and avenues of marketing, I think you're kind of high level aware of all of the things that you need to do. But like Mike said, you're really good at one channel or one thing. You cannot possibly be great at multiple. I mean, I guess some people could. I am not one of them. Like, I think that
No.
for me, like, I am very proud of the experience and the skill set that I have in retention. And I've grown that because retention has also changed over time with the introduction of SMS marketing and loyalty and, kind of incorporating all those things together. But we are not all good at all marketing things. And if we're not all good at them and we work in that world and we understand what it all is and how it all comes together, imagine folks outside of marketing
Right.
trying to tell us then how easy our jobs are and how fun our jobs are. And all marketing does is, events and parties and fun things. And it's like,
You do
but
TikTok dances.
yeah. No, I'm
That's
not
all
dancing on
marketing
TikTok.
is.
That is where I draw the line.
I know.
Love to
You
see
know.
you try.
Gosh, no. No. Can't do it. Can't dance.
Yeah.
But
On that note, what's
I,
working? So
yeah,
I think
that's the thing. It's a challenge. Marketing has had this problem in the last several years too. And I saw a CFO, it was a CFO or CEO talking about it, maybe on LinkedIn, where he said, I constantly hear this complaint from marketing that you need to work with CEOs who get marketing, right? Like, and this is a marketing complaint, like, hey, if you work for a CEO who doesn't get marketing, like, you're not going to be there long.
right.
And his point was like, you guys have done a bad job explaining how you connect to revenue. And a lot of marketers don't. And this is something for me because when I started in marketing, it was e-commerce. So I have always felt a very direct connection to
Right.
revenue. And I have taken that from there into everything else. I don't care what it is, B2B, whatever, sales. I'm like, hey, marketing is a revenue. Marketing helps create revenue. Even if it has to sell through a salesperson, I am helping send you the leads, right? That turn into this.
There are certain
But a lot of
jobs,
marketers
and I
don't
think,
feel that. They're like, no, I'm brand.
right. But I was going to say, like,
I
so
don't-
there is some
don't do revenue.
differentiating there too, because I think people confuse advertising and marketing a lot. I think there's definitely distinctions there. I think it's an assumption, and it's a wildly misleading assumption that our jobs are easy, and that it's even worse, I think, for marketers who don't have a direct KPI, right? Who don't see a direct KPI, billboards, events, brand recognition, brand, growing brand equity and things like that are not always directly tied to a metric you can see. Right? I send an email, I see the open rate, I see the click-through rate, I see the revenue generated, and that even gets disputed a ton, by the way. Right? But for those folks in marketing that don't have that direct KPI, I think that's another reason why so many people in corporate America assume that they can do what we do. And, it's just, you're just putting creative out there and it doesn't matter how it performs. And it's like, yeah, it does. You might not see a direct metric. I still think
that whatever you do in marketing, you can relate it to a KPI. And that's where for me, is what I do.
Right.
You want to run billboards, there are KPIs to look at.
Right.
You can benchmark that.
Right.
You can see the impact. And it's not just putting some sort of a hashtag or a code to say, mention this,
Right.
And then you look at that result. There are metrics on your website to look at.
Right.
And if you are doing those things and it actually does not move the needle anywhere, you don't see branded searches increase. You don't see direct traffic to your website increase. You don't see, social media interest increase in any of these things that you're doing, then that's probably not actually working. But there are things to look at. And that's where people who are doing those things, that's where you need to, if you're in marketing, here's how I connect to revenue.
Right.
Because that's what CFOs, when they want to cut us and we are the first ones cut, it's because they see marketing as a cost center. Everyone sees marketing as a cost and they're crazy. That's crazy.
And we talked about this. Like, don't cut your marketing. But, I think definitely it's one of those jobs that, again, we're constantly having to prove what we bring to the table. And we're constantly having to exist in environments where everybody thinks they can do what we do. So,
they want to, they'll get rid of us and they hire overseas for $5 an hour and they'll have ChatGPT do it. And then it's good enough.
Yeah. Y'all don't do this, by the way. This is not a solution to your marketing
you've seen this. Like, there have been lots of layoffs, agency layoffs.
I have seen this, yes.
And then they go overseas. We don't need you. ChatGPT can help them.
And listen, if that's your mentality and if you think that you can do what we do, by all means, go right ahead.
Yeah, I know. Please keep doing that because we're working for the people who get it.
Yes.
And we're going to be out here to bury you. And I love competing against you. You make my job a little bit easier knowing that you're out there doing that stuff. So thank you.
I think we should end there.
Okay. Good spot.
I think that's a good spot to end.
Yeah. All right.
Mic drop.
Well, thank you everybody again tuning in. Another episode. We continue marching on. Again, find us on YouTube, Spotify. We're on TikTok. We're everywhere. Everywhere you want to be.
Yeah, LinkedIn too.
An old Visa commercial. See how marketing and branding has stuck with me? So that was an old Visa tagline.
That is a throwback, Mike. That is a throwback for sure.
So LinkedIn, I forgot that. Thank you again if you have tuned in to this point. We appreciate it, everyone. We will see you again next